police or not. Uncomfortable for Cressida Deputy Commissioner Dame Cressida. She told LBC she doesn't accept that the Met Police has failed. This was an exclusive poll finding, well, just about a half of Londoners don't trust her force. So it feels like a London-centric story. If around the country you have a different view, then that would seem to suggest we have here in London. Tell us about it. What do you think of your local police force or officer? I mean, do you see the police for one thing? And as they're behind a car window and armed to the teeth, you rarely see them in London. Would that help our perception of the police now? The Met Police Chief, she made these remarks during Call the Commissioner before her breakfast yesterday. She said she regrets the loss of trust in the force following the murder of Sarah Everard by a certain police officer. But she doesn't accept that the force has failed. So just over half say they trust the men, and 23% would actively distrust the police. Why is it such a concern if these numbers seem very high? I'll tell you why I think it is. It's because they're an absolute plank of society, the way we do things. I mean, they represent law and order. They're not in touch with us, and we're not in touch with them very often unless it gets to crisis point. Wouldn't it be great to see more police officers around? Ask young people that, and they might disagree. I don't know. Over to you, 03456060973. Have you got any reason to distrust the police if something happens to you personally with the police, an interaction which makes you not trust them now? Then fine, let us know about that. Why your attitude is the way it is. Zoe Bellingham is a former Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary Police Watchdog. Zoe, good morning to you.
Morning, Andrew.
Trusting the police seems to be at a very low ebb. Why do you suppose that is? Do you trust these figures?
I think the figures are really interesting. They're an absolute wake-up call for the Met. I saw Cressida Dick being interviewed yesterday, and I think she's quite right. She needs to look at these figures and work out what needs to change. But your listeners will know, Andrew, that we don't see the police as often as we'd like to. When we do call the police, quite often they don't do some of the very basic things right that we'd like them to do. They don't follow through on the crimes. And I've just recently led a report in my former organisation looking at the epidemic of violence against women and girls in the wake of the horrific murder of Sarah Everard. And we saw after Sarah's tragic death an outpouring of A, grief, B, shock, and C, horror, but also a sense that women were saying enough is enough. We're not going to live in a society like this anymore where we don't feel safe. And I'm not sure that the police were really on the front foot to be able to step forward and say proactively to women in London and across the UK, we understand that a serving police officer has done this. We understand that your confidence in the police will have been knocked, and this is what we're going to do. And I called immediately in the wake of Sarah's wake cousin sentencing for the police to step forward to actually say to their public, how are we going to solve this? Because as you said in the intro, Andrew, if the public don't trust the police, the public won't go to the police. Legitimacy is lost, and actually half the fabric of our society will start to break down. So this is so important, this poll, and it's really important that the police respond.
Well, further to the death of Sarah Everard at the hand of Wade Cousins, what also probably has eroded trust, and I would imagine to a fairly large percentage, and certainly it eroded my trust because I was there, was the terrible and insensitive policing of the vigil that took place on Clapham Common afterwards. The sight that I saw of police officers, men and women, charging through flowers that had been laid on Clapham Common was just unbelievable. I thought, oh my God, where do we live? Listen, I'm not somebody that's like to be harassed. I'm 58.
Quite tall.
still trust the police? Our poll would seem to suggest that many people do not.
Good morning, Andrew. Hope your morning goes well. My answer is absolutely yes. And living in a place like London, I couldn't imagine my life without them. And I wasn't really, I wouldn't call if I didn't have my very recent experience yesterday. I've noticed a gentleman at the traffic lights who struggled to go across them, and he was left behind. And because of my many years experience of working in nursing homes, I've realized that there is something not right with him. And I suspect he was either confused or suffered from dementia. And I thought, he also had 2 little suitcases with him and like a shopping trolley stuffed with clothing with a towel thrown over it. I thought, this doesn't look right. And my first instant thought was, the police. And they've arrived in 5 minutes in absolute professional manner and taken care of the gentleman. I don't know exactly what happened to him later, but I'm sure they did the best they could.
Are you surprised by how quickly they were there, David? I am.
Yes and no, because you know what? That's life in a big city. Sometimes we can do things instantly, sometimes we help back on a regular basis at my bus ride. Normally we come back on time. Sometimes you have to wait for our service so long that you think we'll never come. And I've got this very simple analogy to the police. Dealing with police is like shopping in a supermarket. On a regular basis, we couldn't live without it. Now and again, we happen to buy something which is out of date and is rotten. And what we do, we just simply return it and deal with it. And that's exactly what our life is like in most instances.
Okay, David, thank you very much indeed for that. 23 minutes past 7. Trust in the police. 0345 6060 973. A quick look at the newspapers this morning. The Daily Express. Never let evil step on taste freedom again. This is this terrible, terrible story. Arthur, this Labinger Hughes, he was beaten to death by the person charged with looking after him and his natural father as well. Obviously, social services have a lot of questions to answer. Victoria Climbier and Baby P come to mind. Here we go again, the Prime Minister saying lessons will be learned. Well, hopefully some lessons about resourcing, perhaps training of staff. I mean, they made a visit months, or was it just weeks before his death, and were convinced, the social services, that there was nothing untoward. I mean, if you look at the history of the woman who murdered this little boy in her charge, if you look at her history, I mean, there's an issue every single time her name would even come up. Surely a massive red light. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. It's so depressing, that story. Daily Mirror, Strictly Craig in Beeb advert row. Apparently he's been using his trademark Fabulous to flog beds or something. You can't do that on Beeb. A lot of people at the Beeb would like it very much if you could, though, because the profile that it affords them gives them the opportunity to sign deals like that. iWeekend, UK red alert over Omicron, ability to hit double jabbed. Well, we don't know yet, do we? I'm quite looking forward to getting my booster. First mention of COVID this morning. What is it, 7:24? I could talk about it for 3 hours, what's actually happening. It's good light perception, but we're not going to too much today. Again, justice for Arthur on the front page. The Sun, killer 29 years for self-pitying stepmom, torturer. Ate a Happy Meal as the boy was starved. Coward, she refuses to face a judge. And it wasn't just her. It was father as well who was there. That's Thomas Hughes. He was given 21 years for manslaughter. Emma Tustin, 29 years yesterday for the torture, poisoning and murder of her 6-year-old stepson. Guardian newspaper this morning, act now, no time to wait for Omicron data, say experts. Well, you can pick an expert to say whatever you want on this particular subject, and until we know more about the transmissibility and the virological effects of Omicron, how it affects people, are they going to go to hospital, are they going to die with this? Difficult to know where to put yourself really on the spectrum of reactions that we should have. That's the Guardian newspaper. Sunak plan to slash taxes. The Times on Saturday. What is it? The election campaign starting now. Income tax could be cut by 2. Could be. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. He's already broken a manifesto pledge. It is a high tax party right now. He doesn't like it. That's the story. So he wants us to talk about something scandal that has engulfed the county. Lord Patel is the club's new chairman. He's had crisis talks with members of the squad. Some players were said to feel so strongly they were threatening to leave themselves. But there were 16 sackings in total yesterday. Did they have proof that any of these guys had done anything wrong? I don't know. Let's find out more from LBC's reporter Vicky Smith. She's in Leeds and she has more. Hi, Vicky.
There's been huge sweeping changes right at the top of the club as the county tries to desperately rebuild its reputation after the racism row has totally engulfed Headingley. Martin Moxon, director of cricket, has gone. Head coach Andrew Gale has left, along with the entire coaching team. Now, this comes just over 2 weeks after Azim Rafiq appeared in front of MPs calling for a total clear out. 16 people in total left their positions. I've spoken to Tabassum Bhatti, an ex-academy player for Yorkshire. He told me that he's one of the people who have called the whistleblowing hotline one of the measures put in place in the wake of this scandal. He told me that this is a good start, but that more will be needed to rebuild the trust between the club and Asian communities.
You know, my dad's played the game for 40 years in this country, you know, and he's experienced things and I've experienced things, you know, in the communities, it's hard enough, to be honest.